You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 118 of Teach Better Talk. I'm Ray Hewart, and as always, I'm with my freaking awesome friend Jeff Gargas.
That might be my favorite one yet.
Well, it was not created by me. I can't even take credit for it.
Who gets the credit?
Marcela from our Facebook group is the one
Marcela,
who decided that you were freaking awesome.
Well, she's friggin' awesome, so thanks. I appreciate that. She's super active in that Facebook group and always providing value and starting conversations. I love it.
Well, and I guess that she's giving you that title because of your action recently on Twitter, like your gift game. So she's pretty happy with you.
I do what I can. So that's interesting that that's someone that we're connected to virtually, and we were literally just talking about what we wanted to talk about was like that, right?
Right.
So that was really well done, Ray. I think you actually planned that.
This is why they pay me the big bucks.
So what Ray and I were talking about was so we have a really cool episode here. We have a duo, two guys on this, two gentlemen, Charles Randolph and Steven Jones. And what's cool about it is that they're connected and they're like this duo that came on the podcast together. But Charles is in Virginia and Steven is in Illinois. So it's kind of like, why are they connected? And so they share their story about how they're connected. And they also talk at different points throughout the conversation about that, utilizing your network and building that network and not being afraid to connect with people and stuff like that. And then you and I got talking about the fact that, yeah, that's a really cool thing to focus on because we've got this conference that's literally starting tomorrow. And everyone that's coming are people that we've built in this virtual world and this connection. There's a lot of people that we're going to meet over the next 2 days for the first time ever, but we've been connected to them forever. We feel like we're best friends with them. And that's just, I think, such a powerful thing. We talk about this. We talked about this before. This isn't necessarily something new, but I think it's something that's always worth focusing on is the fact that 10, 15 years ago, like you couldn't do that. Like you were limited to the people that were close by and in proximity down the hall in the same district. Now you have the ability to connect with people all over the world and build a massive PLN that you can learn and grow with and learn and grow from. And I just think that's so awesome and so powerful. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, not only with the conference, but there's been more instances in my life than not where a connection was formed and there was something I've learned or gained from somebody who I've never met before in real life. Like I've talked to them virtually and we've built a relationship, but even yesterday, Jeff, and I know this isn't really along the same conference lines, but I was just at coffee with a student teacher that I had like 3 or 4 years ago who's looking for a job in Florida. And so after our coffee, I reached out to like 12 people, 12 educators that I knew had a connection to Florida to see if they could make an introduction. And to be honest with you, all 12 people I reached out to I've never met in person. They're all friends that I've made virtually that we've built a relationship. And, when everyone's dedicated around the better mindset of where education is headed, it's amazing how you can learn so much and how deep those relationships can form. I'm so excited to meet all of the people at the Teach Better conference face to face, just because some of them I feel like I know, and it's weird to not have met them in person.
Yeah, and it's that I always talk about like the power of social media, and yeah, there are dangers. You got to be careful, but I always say that we can choose to be afraid of it, or we can choose to utilize it. And the fact is, social media is why we're able to connect with all these people, why we're able to do that, why you're able to reach out to 12, 15 people to help someone else when you haven't even met those people in person, because you're able to build that an actual connection now without having to be in the same room. Yeah, it's still always great to be in the same room, right? I'll always take that over it if I can, but I can't do that to someone who's across the world. I love a couple weeks ago, I was chatting with a teacher in the Philippines and like talking about her classroom, talking about the success she's having and stuff. And like, that's just a really cool connection that we've been able to build. So I love it. And I think these two gentlemen really kind of display that, like their connection, the work that they're doing together when they're not in the same state, and they have never been. So really cool. So I want to talk about. I want to dive right into it because this is a little bit longer episode because we had two voices on there. And we wanted to make sure that we got all the value we could out of it. So I want to dive right in. So Charles Randolph, he's an instructional technology coordinator in Arlington, Virginia. 10 years experience in that role. Really focused on just those 21st century instructional technology skills, AR, VR, the STEM, focusing on really finding that connection to the real world problem and being purposeful with how he utilizes tech. He shares a really cool story about his success and that's something that they rolled out in their district that I think is some people might not realize how difficult that is what he does. But as someone who's done some IT work in the past, like it's really hard and impressive in my book. Steven Jones is a STEAM facilitator in Illinois. He's also, along with Charles, they are ISTE STEM Co-Chairs, which is really cool. Steven's also the IDEA, our friends at IDEA, Illinois. He's the Western Suburbs Vice President and the Governing Board representative. He's got a really cool story about creating his own curriculum and the challenges that came along with that and how he figured it out. I think the two of them, there's a really cool overlap in the way they think, but also some really cool different stories that they share from different worlds that they're in. And I just think there's so much value in this episode. I hope everyone listens all the way through and really gains that and then connects with these two awesome educators at the end. Ray, I just blabbered on for a little bit about my excitement of this because we also talk about esports, which I got really excited about, and I cut you off, and I apologize again for that, but I'm super excited. So anything else you want people to focus on other than me being rude to you?
Well, I want them to focus on the fact that you apologized to me. That was fabulous. No, it wasn't. I wasn't upset at all. I think these two gentlemen have a ton to share. So enjoy the episode and connect with them. They got plenty more where this come from.
All right, let's go with episode 118 with Charles Randolph and Steven Jones.
Hey everyone, it's Ray. We are about to get right back to the episode, but I wanted to make sure you are a part of our Facebook group. The Teach Better team has a private Facebook group that has grown so much over the past few months, and we continue to do live sessions, answer questions, and have teachers share their lesson plan ideas so we can all collaborate together. Head over to Facebook and search Teach Better Team to request to join, or you can head to teachbettergroup.com and request there. Either way, we'll see you over on Facebook. Now let's get back to the episode.
All right, we are here and we are talking with two awesome guests today. We've got Charles Randolph and Steven Jones chatting with us today. Gentlemen, it's so awesome to have you on the podcast. Super excited. I love when we get to change it up every now and then and have duo guests and get to dive into two minds, and it's just double the value for everyone listening. So if you guys, before we jump into everything here, man, just how are you guys feeling tonight?
I am doing wonderful. This is Charles Randolph. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing wonderful as well. This is Steven Jones.
I am so excited to dive into where you both are in your educational journeys and all the insight that you're going to share today. I want our listeners to first obviously learn all about you. So Steven, I'm going to start with you. Would you mind kind of telling us, how do you answer the impossible question of all that you do?
Well, that is a little difficult because it is it's a pretty broad category. Essentially, I typically tell people that I am a STEAM facilitator, and then people who aren't in education are like, well, isn't it STEM? And so then I have to kind of break that down for them. And I tell them, yes, it's science, technology, engineering, art, mathematics. It's all interdisciplinary. And that I teach students about design thinking. I teach them about the engineering design process, all about empathy. They learn about CAD. They learn about 3D printing. They learn about subtractive manufacturing. It's all about working together in teams, creating projects, serving a purpose, trying to come up with solutions to improve the lives of others.
Geez, Charles, I don't know how you're going to top that, but would you mind sharing kind of your own explanation of what you do in education?
Well, I was about to say the show's over because Steven
Yeah, he got you.
Yeah, he won on that one. But for me, I am a instructional technology coordinator in Arlington, Virginia, and the school I'm located at is the Arlington Career Center, which is the career and technology education high school for the county. So for me, my role is to help teachers, students, parents, and other staff with the instructional technology as far as how to use all those wonderful ed tech, STEAM, STEM, and other resources they can use in the classroom and outside the classroom.
I love it. A wealth of knowledge and experience here. I enjoy it. So I want to touch really quick because Charles, you're in Arlington, Virginia. Stephen, you're in Illinois. And if anybody's listening was thinking the same thing that I was, it's how are you two connected? Why are you two on this podcast at the same time? So can you, Charles, why don't you share with us how the two of you got connected and why you're a duo right now? Like why we brought you on together? Like what's the connection there?
Stephen and myself met several years ago via ISTE conference, which is the International Society of Technology Education. And we are on the Professional Learning Network for ISTE back years ago for ISTE STEM. ISTE has different affiliates or different kind of groups, and you can pick your type of educational experience or expertise, and you can join that group. And that's how Stephen and myself met, mostly through emails before, and we worked on a couple of projects. And then this year, we are the 2019-2020 year, we are the ISTE STEM Co-Chairs for the ISTE STEM Professional Network.
That's super cool. So, Stephen, can you tell us, like, what does that mean? You're the ISTE STEM Co-Chairs. Like, what's that? What does that entail? What do you guys do to that? Like, what's your role there?
Essentially, what it means is that we are kind of the lead people who are in charge of creating professional development for all of the ISTE STEM PLN members. So we have a ton of members that are all across the country and across the world. It's our responsibility to listen to our members, kind of collect that information, and then seek out resources or provide webinars ourselves, Twitter chats, book talks, whatever our members need in order to improve their profession. That's our responsibility. So throughout the course of each school year, we work on developing those resources for our members.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Congrats on getting there. That's a really important job that you're doing. Obviously, ISTE reaches, provides a lot of value to just so many educators. So that it's awesome that you guys have a part in that and are listening to that community and building what they need based on that. So very, very cool. I'm excited to dive into this next one. So on this podcast, we talk about failure all the time. I talk about it all the time about how I look back and I find myself very fortunate to have failed a lot because it's taught me what I know. It's molded me into the person that I am today. So I'm hoping that you can both share a moment in your life that you've had a failure that you've had to overcome, kind of share what happened, how did it make you feel, how did you overcome it, and then what did you take away with that? Charles, you want to lead us with that one?
Yes, pretty much with me, one of my failures that I failed and I feel like I have overcome was being able to, or not being able to work with all my teachers on a regular basis as far as doing professional development. My school is constantly growing and developing, and it used to be a lot more hands-on every second, every minute. But with growing population, I've had to kind of tweak and modify my PD instruction. So I've had to do more online learning with my teachers, giving them tips and resources. And instead of always doing large groups, I've had to get more personalized. So when the teacher has a problem, really work with that teacher one-on-one or a group of teachers, small group one-on-one to say, hey, what's your problem? Let's work on it. Let's get all the griping and the issues out the way and figure out what's the true problem and what's the best tool or resources we can help you out with.
I like that. Stephen, you want to take us on that one too?
Sure. I would say mine is similar, but from a student perspective. So at my recent role in Riverside, Illinois at Hauser Junior High, when I started, which is about 4 school years ago, there was no STEAM program. There was nothing similar to it. So I had to develop the whole program from scratch, essentially, except for 1 or 2 small things the district had initially paid for before I got hired for the job. And so essentially I was creating, 6 different classes with a little bit of support for 2 of them. And I had to do that in a short period of time. And, when you start at someplace new, you have to get to know the staff and the students and the community. And when I was doing that, initially when I was teaching some of the courses that I created over that summer, students were finding that my curriculum was too difficult and there was a lot of pushback. And essentially what I had to do is I had to put any sort of ego aside and really take time and listen to the students and not take it personally, and then go ahead and revise the curriculum to make it better, because I'm there for them. I'm there to support them, to help them learn and succeed. And if something I'm doing isn't working, I have to basically take that feedback and think about what I'm doing and revise my curriculum to make sure that the students are learning and they're also enjoying what they're learning. So that's just kind of a big part of, of being an educator, is being able to reflect on what you're doing and to improve, to iterate, and make everything better.
And one day I'll grow up and be like Steven, with all his
We can only hope and dream, right, Charles?
We can only hope. I think the Avengers might need him next time.
Steven, I love that you touched on the reflection piece. That is such a crucial piece, and I think I enjoyed your story there, how it tied into you and the role that Charles and yourself are playing right now, and the fact that you had to listen to your students, right, and adjust. Right now, the two of you are listening to that ISTE audience and your members and your teachers and Charles, how you mentioned, you're trying to personalize that learning more, right? That's all about that listening, reflecting on what you're doing and how is it working, how is it not working, how do I make it, how do I fix it? So really enjoy that story. That's great there. So let's flip it now. This time, let's now talk about a successful moment. This can be something big or something small, but tell us what happened. Why was it a success for you? And then what'd you take away from that? Steven, let's go to you first on this one.
Really, it kind of stems from what I just spoke to you about. It's basically implementing that STEAM program at my school. So looking at it from 4 school years ago to now, it's been a huge difference. I get emails from parents. I actually had someone contact me on Twitter I think at the end of last school year, telling me they used to be a student at my school and that the things that I was doing at the school were so amazing, and that they're a teacher now and they're inspired by the work that I'm doing with my students. So that was just kind of one small example of how I've been able to kind of take a program from nothing and to have an impact on people who aren't even technically at my school, someone who used to be there and they kind of know what the program used to be like. So yeah, basically being able to go from starting from scratch and then being able to develop a program where we're able to have an impact on our community, on people outside of our community. We've worked with teachers who work with students that are blind and have visual impairments. We've been able to collaborate with them. I've been able to work with people on the West Coast and provide different designs for them to try out regarding assistive technology for their students who have visual impairments. And yeah, I think just been able to really grow. And I've had students who told me that they want to be an engineer or architect, or they want to be a designer now because of taking my classes and my feedback and support.
Wow. That's awesome, Steven. That's really cool. You should definitely be celebrating that success. That's really cool. Charles, let's flip it back to you, man.
For me at my school or school system was about several years ago, probably about 5 or 6, we deployed personalized learning devices, which at that time and is now was MacBook Air devices, to my students and to my teachers. And that was a big thing because we went from sharing carts in computer labs to now every student, 9th through 12th grade at my school, and every teacher having a MacBook Air device as their personalized teaching and education device. And that was a big hurdle because majority of my staff have never used a MacBook device before. They were PC based. Mm-hmm. And also the students, I had students who never had a personalized device before, but now they do. So training the staff and the teachers on how to use the different resources for being personalized, and also some of the inside and outside features of the OS was a big switch for them. Because like I said, my staff was PC based for years. And with the students and the parents, training them and kind of education format on what they can do at home. Because like I said, I had students who never had a computer before or never touched a computer before in their life. And then they had all of a sudden be like, all right, here's a computer. What you going to do with it? How you going to do your schoolwork, apply for college, locations, or how to gain Wi-Fi at home was a big deal.
That's a big deal. That's a big undertaking. I mean, just the switch from PC to Mac is crazy with the staff. Like I can imagine the support you had to provide there to get them there, and then to also be bringing in the students. Like that was a big one. Bravo on that. That is. How long did it take you to feel like you got to like full kind of roll out, full implementation onto those devices?
I would say within a year. And when I say a year, within that school year, because it was one thing I told the staff it was coming out, because at that time our former superintendent said this was one of his initiatives. So it was one of the things I told the staff previously before that school year started with the devices that, hey, this is what we're doing. This is the way we're going, and we're not going to look back. And it's going to benefit not just the teachers, but it was also going to benefit the students. Because like I said, I have students where they do not have devices at home, and the grading scale was different because they couldn't do homework. They had to go to a library and they had that resource. My school location also has a teen parenting program. So I've had teen moms drop the kids off at the daycare center at school, and then sometimes sit and do their schoolwork with the kids while they eat breakfast or even after school. All the way to special education students. I also have to train and work with special education students and my English learner students that are sometimes brand new to the country or to Arlington.
So as you're kind of focusing, I know the both of you have done a number of different things in that interdisciplinary mindset where you're not just teaching students one content, but you're trying to blend in all these other elements that really go to serving the whole child. And that's something really valuable. It's something that people are talking about finally in education. This has really become something that's finally become a topic that's being discussed in schools. But what's fueling your fire to make this your focus and continue to drive that passion towards other educators? Stephen, we can start with you, but what's really getting you excited about education these days?
Well, I'm really excited about ISTE STEM and the opportunities that we're providing to our members. Aside from that, I'm really excited about artificial intelligence. That's been really growing and developing. Students are really excited about it. There's a lot of confusion and interest out there from both other educators, family members, and students. So I think there's a lot of room to kind of discuss and grow that. To help students understand not only how to identify artificial intelligence, but to also contribute to make its usage better. And then also using 3D printing in better ways. And more specifically for me, it's using it to develop assistive technology. So one of the things that really bothered me, many years ago when I first started seeing 3D printing being used in classrooms, was that people basically just went to a website and they would basically print like a little trinket or a keychain. And that just really bothered me because I felt like that was such a huge waste of this amazing technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's been my push ever since I was able to have access to 3D printers in my classroom, which I'm extremely fortunate to do, is to make it meaningful, right? And I always had to tell my new students when I get them every year, it's like, oh, I want to make like this little cartoon character. I want to do this, to kind of sit in my locker. And it's like, well, that's cool, but that's not the purpose of what we're doing. The idea is to use this technology in a meaningful way to help improve the lives of others. And when I kind of explain it that way to students, they get it, right? And they understand the importance and value of what I'm trying to teach them how to do. And they no longer really have that interest in making a trinket that's really not going to serve any purpose.
Absolutely. And I think that emphasis on the relatability, the connection to the content makes for a more engaged student, a more fulfilled student. I mean, that's really how we then begin to give the students the ownership in this process.
Absolutely. They need to be able to understand, their purpose. What one of my students said to me earlier this year, we have we do a social emotional thing. So at the end of class, we have a circle and students talk about something that they learned, if they want to apologize for anything, just kind of a way for them to have an outlet at the end of class. And students have told me that they really enjoy my class because it's not about just writing a paper for a teacher to make them happy. They're actually doing something to make a difference in the world.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more with that. Charles, do you feel like you have a different component of what really fuels your fire?
Only a little bit different, but Stephen and I have pretty much some of the same focus on what's driving us. Definitely with our ISTE STEM, coordinating that this year with being co-chairs has been a big focus on us to drive diversity with STEM and STEAM. not just in the United States, but across the world, because we got a couple of webinars coming up working with STEM related teachers and educators from across the world, and also reaching out to show people to give resources. Because that's a big thing with me and Steven has been trying to make sure people have enough information and resources so then they can make whatever best judgments or aids that can help their students or other classes in schools. Because we worked already and communicate already with people where they don't have Wi-Fi, or even in the U.S., some people don't have the kind of budgets like other school systems have. Mm-hmm. So one school system can buy, whatever kind of hardware or STEM-related subject, but other schools can't. So what kind of resources can we pop out? We have one of our PLM members, Mr. David Lockett, who's working on a grant page on our ISTE STEM website. And it's just websites full of STEM resources as far as with grants and funds for STEM. And as far as with what I'm liking or loving in education right now, VR, AR, and drones are pretty much my passion projects, which I always work with my students for the last couple of years. Particularly, like I said, those three things, the VR, AR, and drones, because for me, that's where I feel like is a big bubble of future coming up. Oh, and esports.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I could literally talk on those three topics all night, Charles. You just hit a hot button topic with me. I love it. That's awesome.
I'm about to say, you sound real excited to talk about that. That might have to be another podcast.
I'm jumping in, Ray. Can I jump in?
No, you're not. Absolutely not allowed. I'm talking to Charles here.
If you better be taking me to the esports route, because that's where I want to go with this.
All right, go ahead, Jeff.
No,
I think a lot of people are after they realize that young male won, was it $15 million?
Yeah. So like this is something esports something that I've been seeing and wanting to come for years. Like you can ask my family and friends. I've been telling them for several years now. I'm like, you watch in the next 10 to 15 years, there's going to be an esports league that is as big as the NHL, as big as the MLS, possibly even rival in some of the other ones. So like now you're starting to see it. It's in colleges. There's scholarships for it. There's actual teams. You're seeing it in high school. So are you developing an esports team at your school? Is that something that you're doing, or?
Yes, we're working with another high school in Arlington that's already got a team or a club already created last year. So my school with another teacher and myself and a couple of students are starting to recruit and starting to get a club together. And like you said, that's being driven by the state of Virginia has an esports initiative. They started last year, it was kind of quiet, but I think a few more schools have gotten on board with the information. Because like you said, it's not just a fun time thing. Colleges are looking at this, and then also too, companies are looking at it. Early, my eyes opened up this year. I attended the Gamers Developers Conference in San Francisco back in March, and it was eye-opening for me because it wasn't just truly game talk. It was the business of game making and game development, and also the different careers in games. So I came back and talked to my students a lot about it, about how if you have a game, guess what? Somebody has to write a script for it. Mm-hmm. So that's a writer. I met a cartoonist. His only job was just to do the illustrations and drawings for the games. And then I met a few people who were the vocal people for the games. So somebody has to do the vocal stuff. And then seeing how different companies like Unity, Unreal Engine, and AutoCAD were starting to merge together for different video game design, I said, this is just not for kids. And then kind of go with Steven was the AI part of it was fascinating to me because at the conference this year, equity and AI was the big topic. And to see how the games are being designed by machine learning, by the computer, is impressive.
Absolutely.
You've seen reports that they're expecting the ad revenue, just the advertising revenue, not even the sponsorship revenue, just the ad revenue to be over $200 million next year, just on esports. I mean, it is becoming a massive platform for businesses to not only advertise on, promote it, but then, and that's driving the video game industry, which is increasing the need now for even more of that understanding of how all that works, and not just in the development of the game, but also the marketing of the game, and how do you engage in the audience? How are you working with the streaming of it, all that type of stuff. I mean, it's a really cool industry. I got really excited about that. I'm like really excited about that movement and that wave. So that kind of grabbed me. So I'm sorry, Ray. I will step back now. I'll relax and I will reserve time with Charles at a later date.
Get back to your place. All right, Charles. I got real questions though, for real. So you just brought up these, I mean, the two of you have been talking about like quote unquote progressive ideas in education this entire podcast, right? Whether we're talking about STEAM or VAR or anything else, like there are so many ideas that we've talked on this podcast that educators are still not even dipping their toes in. Like they're still uncomfortable with these topics that are really going to transform education. So if I had to ask, and Charles, I'm going to start with you, with a piece of advice that you would give a new teacher who just heard about every acronym and new vocabulary term maybe that they've never explored before, what advice do they need to begin their progressive movement towards, implementing AR in their classroom or diving into creating an esports team? Like, how do they do this?
First thing I tell folks, or if I had to tell a new teacher, was pretty much research and talk to different people, different educators, and see what's going on. One of the big strengths I think for teachers is and can be is going out to conferences similar to ISTE conference, where you have so many different educators from across the world that you get to see a lot of things at one place. Locally, one of the best rule of thumbs I tell teachers are to go to different schools and talk to different educators, from other new or rookie teachers to veteran teachers, because you need that knowledge and skill set. But you gotta get out the classrooms and see what's going on. Not just, like I said, locally, but far away too.
Absolutely. And what about you, Steve? What do you think?
Yeah, pretty similar to what Charles was talking about. Even just starting simple within your own school, observe others, observe other teachers. Obviously, go and ask first, right? Some people are really cool with it as long as you just ask them ahead of time. Take feedback. I think it's always good to have another set of eyes to kind of see what you're doing, just to give you another perspective. And don't get discouraged when things get difficult. Teaching is not an easy profession, especially those first few years. And it would be really easy to give up. But if it's something you're really passionate about, you need to kind of stick through it. And one of the ways to do that is to develop a network of people, right? So like a professional learning network, whether it's through ISTE or through a local affiliate or another professional organization. Something that's really important is to surround yourself with people who have similar interests and similar goals so they can push you to be better and help you when you're struggling, because you're not always going to have great days, but you're not going to have bad days either, right? You want someone there to support you through the good and through the bad. And if you are basically putting yourself in a silo and you are basically suffering or only kind of sharing things to yourself, you're really limiting your ability to be able to grow as an educator and a person. So it's really good to make sure you kind of develop your network of people that are around you.
Steven makes a good point about the local affiliates. Like I live and work in Virginia. So like for me, I also have Virginia Society for Technology Education, which is VISTE, which is the local state affiliate. So they pretty much help out, and that's teachers just focused in the state of Virginia that are focused on different professional learning networks, mentoring, and other strengths and weaknesses that teachers may face or educators may face.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's important.
Yeah, really good advice. I love the reaching out, the observing, the getting into other schools, working with your network. That's all just awesome advice. So loving it. All right, we're gonna have some fun here, and I'm gonna check. I think we're gonna do this differently than we have in the past when we've had multiple guests. I'm gonna see if we can do it like all the answers all at the same time here. So we're gonna do the next 6 questions. Your goal is to each answer. We got 15 seconds or less for each question, so this is gonna be tough with 2. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to ask the question. Charles, I want you to give your answer, and then Stephen, you follow up with yours. Does that work?
Yep.
Gotcha.
All right, here we go, guys. We got, what is one ed tech tool you cannot live without?
iPhone.
Surface Pro.
Well, give us a book that you're reading right now.
Unity Educators PD, Professional Development.
Teaching AI, Exploring New Frontiers for Learning.
Who do we need to follow on Twitter or Instagram today?
ISTE STEM, Mr. Jones.
I would say Idea Illinois and David J. Lockett.
And give us a good YouTube channel or website for educators.
Oh, I guess mine, Charles Randolph.
All right with that.
And I would say the ISTE PLN website, so sites.google.com, ISTE 17 STEM PLN. If you Google it up, you get the direct link to it.
All right, give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine you think every teacher should get into.
Definitely reading and also checking out ISTE STEM and ISTE Connect.
I would say turn off, reset your devices, and find a little bit of time for yourself to kind of reset.
And lastly, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
If you have the tools, you can do anything you want.
I would say that the best advice I've received is make sure that you make time for yourself. It's important to have work-life balance.
Ray, I tell you what, man, I switched that up on them. That is not easy to do back and forth like that, but I think
handled
they nailed
it so well. Gentlemen, you rock.
Can we saw the trophy in half and send half of the trophy to each one of them?
I'll make it.
Or do you just want to get 2 trophies?
They can have 2.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think that was. I have not felt that kind of pressure until I watched Double.
You guys handled it really well. It was great. I wanted to do that because I was like, one, I wanted to see if you could do it, but also I love the idea of like it's just we doubled up every answer there for the value of people listening. So that was awesome, man. Appreciate you guys playing with me on that one.
Steven and I work as a good team. That's what we do.
Absolutely.
That's right. Sure do.
You know, gentlemen, I have probably the most important question of the night, and there's no pressure for this one. We just want to make sure that our listeners can connect with you. So would you mind sharing, you know, your Twitter or maybe a YouTube channel that people can connect with you on?
Yes, for me, folks can follow me at Charles Randolph. Just take off the H and put a 3 at the end, the number 3.
And mine would be at Mr. Jones Teaches. Very simple. There's only one original Mr. Jones Teaches, so make sure you select the first one that pops up.
Love it. And, you know, you can find all the links, all the resources, and everything we mentioned in this episode over at teachbetter.com, as well as those really important links for connecting with both Charles and Steven. So make sure you check out the show notes over at teachbetter.com for all of that. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And if you can give us a rating and review, we'd really appreciate that as well. And let's keep taking it one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues who need to hear these amazing stories and share this podcast with them. Steven, Charles, guys, this was awesome. Love when we get to do a duo. You guys did not disappoint. So much value in this episode. So excited for everyone to listen and learn from the both of you. I appreciate your time. I know Ray does as well. Just wanted to say a big thank you for coming on and hanging out with us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you.
And until next time, let's get out there. Let's teach better.